Students and faculty, welcome to another edition of Dragon Talk. We're here with athletic trainer and medical marvel, Joey Shazea. Joey, how you doing today?
Good, I like the introduction.
Well, thank you.
Medical marvel.
Well, that's what they say. So, we're going to start off with some hard hitters.
Uh-oh.
What do you prefer, Gatorade or Powerade?
I think I prefer Gatorade. I've had Powerade for like 7 years when I was at Mason. They do make a great product, but whenever I go to the store and buy a bottle, I spend the 10 cents extra for the Gatorade.
Oh, wow. Any go-to flavors or no?
I go with the classic orange.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Anything special? Just
I think it's a little nostalgia because like when I used to wake up early in the morning, my dad would take me and my brothers fishing. We always get like Dunkin' Donuts, and then he would always have orange Gatorade.
I see.
So I think it's a little nostalgic.
So, what would you say is your favorite snack?
Favorite snack?
Yes.
Are we talking savory or sweet?
Your
Or
choice.
either one?
Your choice.
I wasn't expecting this. I really wasn't. I think go-to, I gotta go with trail mix. I was trying to think, it has a little bit of both, sweet and savory. I was trying to think of candy, but like you have the nuts for the protein, you have the candy, raisins, can't go wrong.
Good pick.
Thanks.
Good pick.
Thanks.
All right. So, why did you become a trainer?
So I went into undergrad not really knowing what I wanted to do. I went to University of Maryland and went undecided. And through a couple of orientation type stuff, I found kinesiology, which is basically the science of how the body moves between biomechanics and physics and stuff like that. And I really enjoyed that. And then through that kind of coursework, there was another class they provided, which was exploring different career options with that as your major. Athletic training was one of them on the list, and I explored a little bit more. I worked with a couple teams while I was at University of Maryland, and I really fell in love with the working with team aspect, being on the sideline and helping these elite athletes make it through a season healthy. And so yeah, I just followed that course and really enjoyed it.
I see. Okay. What would you say is the most difficult part of your job?
Time management, I think, is the most, especially in the high school realm, because you have so many teams that are practicing and have games at all different times. So you may not know when you're going to get out of the day. It's hard to plan what you want to do at the end of the day because practice may go till 6:30, may go to 8:30. So who knows when you're going to get out. I think that's really tough is trying to have a nice work-life balance. And I think a lot of athletic trainers struggle with that because of the time commitment needed, especially when you get into the college realm and you're working summers, and if you're in basketball in season, it's 7 days a week, 24 hours a day almost. You're on call when you're in college because a kid could get sick in the dorm room and you need to go out there. So I think that's, in athletic training in general, I think time management and work-life balance is really what most people struggle with.
I see. Now, time management. As we all see, when we come in here at the end of the day before practices or games, this room is packed. How do you deal with the kids who really have to be here for treatment and those kids who are just here to hang out?
So I've always had the philosophy, some athletic trainers like to have set up their training room like a clinic. So you need to schedule time to do treatment and rehab and all this, and it's more of like a doctor's office. And I've never seen it like that. I've always wanted it to be an extension of the locker room. So I've never minded having kids come in here if they just wanted to roll out or stretch or just hang out with their friends that are getting taped. I never had a problem with it. Now, if it gets too loud or I can't hear myself think while I'm taping or treating someone, then I'm going to have people leave. But I've ran into that problem maybe once in the fall with soccer being loud in here. But I let them do their own thing, take care of the people that need to go out to practice first. Those that are getting treatment and are missing practice, they'll just hang out for a little bit and I'll treat them during practice. But usually I have the priority of if you're playing or practicing and you can, I'll tape you and send you out first.
That's a good way to deal with it.
Thanks.
Okay. So, what were some of the first things you noticed about our school, GCS?
First, I mean, the first thing I noticed when I came on campus is that it's an awesome campus. Like it's huge. Obviously it's more than just a high school. It is a really nice campus, really nice athletic facility, weight room. You guys have a lot to your advantage. I've worked at high schools, and even my high school that I went to, the training room was maybe the size of my actual office. Like it wasn't this big. We had one treatment table, one taping table, basically just ice. And you guys have so many things to your that you can take advantage of to help you perform. So I think that's really good. I think you guys have a strength and conditioning coach. I've never had that. A lot of schools don't. They rely on their coaches. So the fact that you have someone that specializes in how to train and make you guys better, I think it's awesome. It's just, the amount of resources you have is pretty great when compared to other high schools, especially like public high schools.
Now, I know you've been at Maryland, Rutgers, other high schools. Tell me, who is the most famous person you've ever had to treat? Gotten to treat? Yeah,
I thought about this the other day, and I think the most famous athlete that I've treated, looking back, is probably, when I was at Rutgers, Ray Rice was there, so I worked with him. Steve Francis was always in the training room when I was at Maryland.
Wow.
Kenny Britt was on Rutgers, and so I saw him. He probably had 2% body fat on him. He was just all muscle.
Oh my gosh.
Funny story with one of the 2-a-day practices preseason. It was really hot, and he cramped up, like full body cramp, to the point where like we had trainers hanging on his arms trying to straighten him because his biceps were cramping. And he had to walk stiff-legged into the training room so he can get IV from the doctor so that the cramps would, he just, like when his muscles cramped, you weren't going to release them. It was crazy.
Now, through your days, have you ever had to break some terrible news to an athlete?
Yeah, the one that I kind of think about a lot was we had a freshman volleyball player when I was at Mason, and it was like towards the end of preseason. It was one of the last practices before our first matches. It was the very end of practice. We're finishing up. We're playing one more game, last point basically, and he comes down awkwardly on his knee. He felt a pop. Brought him into the training room. I did the ACL test maybe 3 or 4 times because I knew like it was gone and I didn't want to tell him, so I was just making sure, and I kind of had to break it to him. But I like to, when it's that definitive and I know, I like to kind of push that off on the doctors a little bit. So I'm like, it feels like it's your ACL, but we'll get the doctor in here and he'll have the final say. Because 1, they do have more experience with it, and 2, I like them to be the bad guy. And so that was probably the toughest, is like your freshman season. And he had a great preseason. Like he was gonna push for some playing time, and it was devastating because he loved the sport and he couldn't play it for a year. Luckily he was a freshman, so you can tell him like a red shirt, you're still 4 years. It's when it's a senior that's really when it gets rough.
True. Now, what is the most gruesome injury you've ever witnessed and had to deal with firsthand?
So my last year, we had football at the last high school I was at, and opening kickoff of one of our games, I'm watching our guy return the ball. He had a great return, thought he was going to break it, got tackled at the 50, but in the back of my head, on the side, I hear, "It's broken, it's effing broken." And so I look, and he's holding his leg up like this, and basically his lower leg was just dangling. Like it broke right from the center, both tibia, fibula. So I ran out and I yelled for the ambulance. I waved them over because I knew right away we were gonna have to split and send them out. Luckily at that school, I had like 3 team docs that came to every football game. So they were checking out the leg, making sure that it set properly, which luckily it did when he put his leg down. I was trying to calm him down and gather equipment so that we could split them up and get them out on the ambulance. But that was probably the most like right away gruesome injury. I also had a volleyball player who took a volleyball to the pinky twice in practice, and he went and shook it out like it was just jammed and blood was everywhere. And he comes running out and over to me, and his bone is sticking out of his finger. He didn't break it luckily, but he dislocated it, and with enough force that it came through the skin. So that was pretty that was gruesome in like the bloody, bony way. That was pretty crazy.
Now, when that happens, do you ever have a moment where you freak out inside, or is it just you just know what to do?
I think everyone has that moment. I think when I looking back on it, I think initially it's like like wow, that's a pretty serious moment, but your adrenaline kicks in pretty quickly, and I think that's helps me focus. And right after that initial shock, it's okay, this is what I need to do, and I get it done. And then afterwards, you get like, you almost feel drained. Like I felt tired after each one because it's just that adrenaline just leaves your body, and you just, wow, that just happened. Hopefully everything's okay, type thing. But I think in the moment, you focus a bit and you trust on your training, kind of similar to sports, I think. You do it so much, you practice it so much that when that time comes, it's natural for you. So in those situations, I've read a lot about them. We practice hands-on stuff in school enough that when the situation arises, you know what to do, and you go with it. And then if something goes wrong or you don't do something perfectly, you reflect back on it and say, this is what I would do differently, but you know that you gave your best effort there and you helped them as best you can, you kept them as safe as you could, as painless as you could. But you always look back and reflect on that and hopefully do it better next time if it ever occurs, knock on wood.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Now, what do you do if someone is obviously faking an injury?
That's always the hardest, and you'll see that mostly with younger athletes. It's one of those things like what they're going to complain about and fake is the pain aspect of it. So I can go through my whole evaluation and I can't find anything wrong. If, let's say the knee, I'm checking out all the ligaments, they all seem fine, but they're complaining about joint pain, knee pain, and I'm palpating and it may be inconsistent and it's a red flag, and I can pick up on it when somebody's just maybe not faking injury, but like embellishing on a pain to get out of something. And I have to, as a healthcare provider, treat their pain. If they're saying they have pain, I have to believe that they're having pain. I can't, if I say they don't have pain and they go in and they make something worse, then that doesn't look great on me. So I will reflect that to the coaching staff. I will tell them, and that can be a conversation that we have with them. If it's consistent enough, we can sit down with the athlete and say, hey, we know this isn't as bad as you're saying it. There's something else going on. But if it's a one-time thing, that's just something I'll sit down with the coach and say, listen, this is what they're presenting with, this is what they're saying they have. I'm not finding it consistently in my evaluation, but maybe they just need some time off, or maybe it's just a soreness that they need to take a day and they'll be better tomorrow. But if it's something that's consistent, then we'll sit down and talk to them.
Okay. Now, throughout your schooling, education, social life, could you sum up your college experience in one sentence?
I think a phrase I would say, looking back on my career schooling, is chaotic fun. It's not necessarily a sentence, but a phrase. I think with the time commitment and the hours that I put in with the schooling and working with teams, and even when I was in college, I was traveling with the field hockey team there and had practices throughout the day and going to class, and it was chaotic. It was a lot of time management that I had to do right from undergrad, and I think that's helped me through my career too, is that I was able to kind of learn to enjoy that chaos and manage my time through that chaos enough to have fun with the chaos and outside the chaos. So even when it gets hectic in here and I'm taping, I still am able to joke around or relate to some of the things you guys say, because I can enjoy the chaos instead of being so stressed that there's a line of people that need to be taped. Take one person at a time, joke around with them, and learn to enjoy and embrace that chaos rather than stressing about it. So I think that's been, looking back, that's been pretty consistent wherever I've been. Is there's been chaos, but it's been fun.
Joey, I'm afraid we've run out of time. I appreciate it.
Yes, it was fun.
All right.
Thanks.